Hello, podcast listener. You've chosen an episode of JJ Meets World, which features Mr. Bill Lempe. And at first I called him Lemke, which was totally wrong, and I was embarrassed right off the bat. And you'll hear that in the beginning moments of this podcast. But before we even get into Bill and talking about Hornbachers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and why the Be Legendary thing is not a good thing for North Dakota, you can hear Tucker and I talk about real true crime, and he'll even give you a tip for how to not get caught if you are being interrogated. So there are life skills galore in this episode of JJ Meets World. And by the way, hey, keep the lights on by going to patreon.com/JJ Meets World. Let's go.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
I like to watch Law & Order SVU and see if I can figure out who the criminal is before the show starts.
The best Law & Order.
Yeah. And I know that you've been into true crime lately.
Yeah.
So do you think that you could help effectively solve a crime nowadays? Do you like if the police were like, we got to bring in an independent consultant?
I think I would be better at helping suspects get out of their police interrogations.
Oh, my.
Because they never seem to ask for a freaking lawyer. They never seem to.
Well, here's the thing. If I was being interrogated and I said, I want my attorney, I would immediately think that they would assume I'm guilty.
Right.
Because who asked for an attorney? Someone who's got something to hide.
Right, but it doesn't matter what they assume, because it does not matter what they assume. It matters what they can prove. And it's like, if you're talking to a cop and you did something, don't talk to a cop. Just be like, I don't want to talk to you. And you don't even have to explain why. But so many of these interviews that you see where they get their rights read to them, they'll like have them printed out and they'll read through them with them and say, now you read it. Now can you tell me that you understand what this is? And they go, yes, I understand. Yes, sign here. I still want to talk to you. That is the dumbest move if you're a criminal.
So if you get arrested, okay. So let's say you get arrested at 4:00 in the afternoon. And by the time they book you, because it takes a little while, you have to go through your fingerprints. They have to catalog everything on your person. And by the time you get to the interrogation room, it's 5:30. Do you think you're allowed to say, like, I need something to eat? I think you need to bring me a snack, or at least let me order a pizza.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Because I've seen some of those where it seems like they've had them in that room for hours.
Yeah, there'll be very long interviews. And oftentimes you'll see the cops offer them food for a number of reasons. One is just to keep them happy, keep them talking. Two is that if they throw their trash away, they can collect that DNA. So that's one thing. It's like if they're trying to get a confession out of a suspect and they don't want to scare the suspect off, they'll often offer them like do you want a glass of water? Do you want a bottle of water? Do you want this or that? Because when they drink it and then throw it out, the cops can use that for DNA testing.
Oh, that's clever.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have ever thought about that. So you're saying that if I accept a glass of water, I should take that glass with me when I leave?
If you're afraid that they might connect you to something nefarious through your DNA. Mm-hmm. But if you've done nothing wrong, then don't worry about it.
Normally, I'm a person who hasn't done anything wrong. But I can also say I've never been sweat out in an interrogation room. I imagine it'd be a little bit like Chunk from the movie The Goonies.
You would just fold.
At one time, man, I cheated on a test. And one time I used fake barf and it made him throw up. Being a chubbier kid, I was always compared to Chunk growing up. A fat kid who was literally a character's name in the movie Monster Squad.
I mean, he gets fat shamed in the movie. They say, do the truffle shuffle.
Yeah.
You got to show me your fat belly before I'm going to let you do whatever it is. It was just get into the house or something?
Just to be able to come into the house.
That's what it was.
And it was raining in Astoria that day. Our guest today is somebody who I thought when we started this would share a lot of commonalities with my pop culture love of movies. But he drops a bomb in the middle of this podcast that made Tucker and I go silent. And then he further on added to it throughout the whole thing. And they're like, wait a minute, hold on. What era did you grow up in?
So just so I can try to connect the dots here, are you saying that today's guest, Bill Lempe, should be arrested and interrogated because of things he reveals about gaps in his pop culture knowledge in this episode?
I'm just saying that if you were to sweat Bill Lempe out, these are things that you might use for it. And do I think that he should be arrested? No. Do I think there's a potential that at one point in his life he may be arrested? Yes. He just has that general look about him.
He's really shifty and untrustworthy.
The whole time we interviewed Bill, he wore this, I call it like a Newsies hat. And so his eyes were always shaded. There was never a moment where you could really like see his
looking
whole
suspicious
face.
to you,
which I didn't care for.
like a gangster from the 20s.
Oh my God. And not even like a high level gangster.
No.
Like a street thug.
Yeah, because he doesn't get to wear the fedora. He wears the newsy cap.
Right.
Yeah. So he's running the numbers, right?
Yeah.
He's probably taking the numbers and like bringing them upstairs and then dropping bags off and
He's
south
got
side.
fingerless gloves. And not because he's weightlifting, because he can't afford to darn his gloves or socks. I know people darn socks, but I don't know what that means.
Is this just professional jealousy on our part, JJ?
It slightly is.
One thing about
he's got
Bill,
a very
he's got an
popular
amazing podcast. Him and Matt Charpentier, Fargo Talks Fargo, and it's a fantastic podcast.
really we're hoping that we can jump on their coattails here.
Really,
we're
hopefully
gonna
that.
tag Fargo Talks Fargo and hope that a couple of their what do they call that when you have a sloppy second? We want to be the sloppy second to Fargo Talks Fargo.
Well, if you're here from Fargo Talks Fargo, welcome to JJ Meets World. Please don't leave.
yeah, you trust me, you're gonna enjoy this. I swear. So let's get this thing going. Bill Lempe is a ton of fun. This is probably one of the hardest I've ever laughed during a podcast because we end up going everywhere.
In typical fashion.
But I mean, this is even more so than anything. In fact, while we started this podcast, it was sunny out, and then the sun set, and it started to get dark, and so it felt like we'd been recording for hours. So let's get this going. Today's episode of JJ Meets World is brought to you by patreon.com/JJ Meets World, i.e. you. You, the listener, can go and donate to our Patreon, whether you give us $1 a month, $20 a month, heck, $100 a month would really go a long way. You are definitely not going to regret it, and we can continue creating these things. Heck, we're almost to episode 70, so we're in this for the long haul. We hope you are too. And speaking of long haul, butter up some toast, put the kids to bed, and listen to this episode of JJ Meets World.
JJ Meets World.
Bill Lemke.
Nope.
Lempe.
Lempe.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
You're thinking of Greg Lemke.
Yes.
Former Moorhead City Council member and my
Who else?
DARE officer.
Okay, so let's start this again. Bill Lempe.
Yes.
Do you have a fun nickname?
It's Bill.
Just Bill?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Wait, we're on. It's official. We were just talking about this the other day with somebody. For a long time, I was Billy to a lot of people. My brother actually, for the first time ever, asked me, he's like, "Hey, how come you don't go by Billy anymore?" To more people. But yeah, there's some people who call me Billy. Usually means you know me earlier.
Here's an interesting thing about the name Billy. I'm a huge fan of the movie Gremlins.
Yeah.
And in the original script for Gremlins, Billy, the main character, was supposed to be a 12-year-old boy, which is
Really?
why they called him Billy and not Bill Peltzer, which is a more, you're in your mid to late 20s. It's a
Right.
little bit more of a professional name. It's also why his best friend is a 12-year-old boy. So if you've ever watched Gremlins and you've wondered, why is his best friend this young kid? Isn't that
Right.
weird? It's because they didn't update it from the
Yeah.
original script.
I have to admit, I don't know if I've seen that movie since I was a kid, but I did go to it with my brother, and I got scared, and I went to the bathroom in the middle of it, only because I was going to pee my pants or something because I was scared, and he basically realized I'd been gone too long and came back and was like, "What the hell are you doing? What's your problem?" I was like, "Nothing. I just had to go to the bathroom." And he's like, "Whatever. You're scared. You're weak."
You're like, I am.
I did that with the Rancor scene in Return of the Jedi when I was a kid, and my cousins were watching a tape of it, and it got too intense for me when the Rancor came out, so I had to go hide.
Do you ever see the movie Coneheads?
Oh, yeah.
Do you notice how they pretty much use the Rancor puppet as this creature that Beldar has to fight?
With a golf ball?
Yeah, he creates a golf ball situation. I always thought, like, come on, we couldn't have afforded a new maquette. Like, you guys just had to be like, hey, well, what about this? We got this from Jedi.
This one's already here. It's available. Let's just go for it.
So, Bill, first and foremost, people can find your voice on a very successful podcast series. What's it called?
You've clearly talked to my mom.
Yes. Oh, she was the one.
Actually, no, my mom was very disappointed.
Your
in the
mom is
podcast.
one of our 5 listeners. So.
Yeah. No, my mom did listen to one episode of our podcast, Fargo Talks Fargo. And yeah, I got talked to.
Oh, she gave you some.
Oh yeah, I
some
got
notes.
Didn't like the language.
Did not like my language. Did not understand why they'd helped me go to college all those years, and I still have to use that darn F word all the time.
Well, I feel like
Fargo?
it's very
Yes.
fitting with like the Fargo series.
Yeah, it's it's a rough show. I mean, like, and it's funny and dark and interesting. But yeah, we just Matt Charpentier and I, or Sharpie as most people call on the show. We just thought it would be fun when they came out with the TV show Fargo to do a podcast from Fargoan's perspective about Fargo, and so that we could like maybe bring some light to the actual Midwest quirks of it. But it's been a fun ride, and we love doing it, and it's fun to see where you get fans from all over the place, just because it has accessibility for more than just here. We always thought, oh man, people here will probably totally listen. No. Nobody here gives two shits about our show.
Has is it Noah Hawley?
Yeah.
Has he reached out to you yet?
No.
Like, guys, you're crushing it. Thank you so much.
He hasn't. We've made some really great connections to a few people around FX and on the show, but really not that I'm going to send somebody to someone else's podcast, but these guys called Bald Move. They literally quit their day jobs and they do TV podcasting.
Really?
And that's all they do. They do Fargo. So they're like one of the biggest Fargo podcasts out there. And then after season 1, Minnesota Public Radio jumped on the bandwagon and made their own podcast about Fargo. And it's like, well, how do you compete with that? But we keep doing it anyway. So, I mean, when it first came out, iTunes, the podcast thing, they picked us up for the new and noteworthy section, and that was kind of fun to do. But no one like Noah Hawley has reached out to us, but we've had a few actors on the show. It's been really nice getting to know oh my gosh, I'm just blanking on his, Jeff Russo, who scores everything. Jeff has been on the show twice, because everybody gets all jazzed about just the musicians, or not the musicians, but the actors and stuff. But we really love the music that's in that, and Jeff Russo has done a really great job with that show if you watch the FX television series. And then also Maggie, who's the music supervisor for that show, has been on our show a few times. So it's been
In the 3rd season, the choices they made to include other iconic Coen Brothers movie songs
so good.
That was almost my biggest treat in every episode.
Yeah, they did like re-recordings and like new covers of those songs. That was really, really fantastic. So it's been cool to watch that transition, because season 1 was totally like scored for the most part. Not a lot of like music from the era or anything. And now, with Maggie involved a lot more, they've been doing that, and she's really cool. So if you're a music nerd kind of person like that, you could go listen to that. It's a long one. I mean, she told us she had an hour. We ended up talking for over 3.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. And we didn't have her like held hostage. I think she had a pretty good time too. And I still email with Maggie every once in a while and keep up with her. So
it was like a long Minnesota goodbye. Like, well, we've hit an hour.
So
it's time to
long.
Maggie, we know you got to go, but hey, before you leave, though, like, hold on, we're gonna go put another pot of coffee on real quick.
Yeah, she was super awesome about it. She didn't get too wound up. There was plenty of like, yeah, you're gonna need to cut this. there was a lot of on the record, off the record commentary, and then the only other real fun thing is that we have had we have some listeners who work on the show. Yeah, and then send me stuff from the set. Nice. Like, at first I thought I was like, this guy's full of shit, but he sent some pictures of like stuff, and like he's like, remember this from this scene, and it's a picture of like this. I think it might have been a Beethoven statue in a scene, and then he sends the second picture in there, and the line is, it's on his desk. He's like, this left the set with me after we finished, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I've emailed the prop master and a few other people. So
that's cool.
A lot of fun. And like I said, if you want to think about Fargo, the TV show, if you dig it and want to hear it from a Fargo perspective, where we're like Jesus, nobody just drives to Duluth real quick.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? They're like, well, we're just going to go from Bemidji to Duluth today. So, yeah, we'll just go check that out. And
One thing that I think is unique is, of course, the Fargo connection for us. It's been the greatest calling card I've ever had when I go out into the world, because the second you say you're from Fargo, they're like the movie. Be like, no, not really, but this is a great icebreaker for us.
right. Yeah, it is that thing, though. Do you find that here there's like only two types of people? There's people who like the movie or people who adamantly hate it because they're like, I'm not like that.
Yep, and the people are like, I'm not like that, don't you know?
Yeah, that's just wrong.
Yeah.
It's just, we don't do that kind of stuff.
Heavens. That movie, I think, hit the closest to the mark of what it's like up here, because what was that, a year or two ago after the oil boom, and there was that Don Johnson TV show.
God, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That supposedly took place out in North Dakota, and there are these big mountain ranges that don't exist in the background of every shot. Like, at the very least, you watch Fargo the movie, and you go, oh, they were here. They researched this place. Like, yeah, people talk like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, winter looks like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that particular bar doesn't exist, but that's movie making. That's fine.
True. Yeah.
Most of the bars that you see in movies in New York City.
Movie.
Yeah, right.
Damn.
There's I think Fargo nails it. There's also another movie called Drop Dead Gorgeous. That was from the late 90s.
When was that?
It's Kirstie Alley,
James Marsden?
Kristen Dunst. No, and then who else was in it? Denise Richards and Allison Janney. Oh my gosh, the cast goes on and on and on and on and on, and it's a mockumentary about Mount Rose, Minnesota, and the annual Miss Claire beauty pageant.
Yeah, that's right.
Will Sasso is in it.
Okay.
They nail small town Minnesota. And I think
Really?
if you're from small town, it's hard to watch because it's like it's like when you go and meet with a counselor and your marriage is on the rocks and they hold up the mirror to be like, no, you think that this person's awful? You're doing some pretty awful stuff yourself.
Yeah.
And so you just have to kind of, Allison Janney does a great job with it. There's a moment where they live in a trailer park, and she looks to the camera guys. She's like, "Would one of you guys want to walk me home?" And her friend goes, "Don't listen to her. She only lives 2 trailers over." Like, well, it'll be real quick then. They just do a wonderful job.
Yeah, no, the Fargo thing, it doesn't bother me, and I know there's plenty of stuff that, as much as I don't want to know about it being inside my accent, it is really there, but, I always tell people, not everybody from the South says y'all.
Right.
Not everybody's Tammy Taylor from Friday Night Lights. Everybody has some sort of thing that helps you just identify their region, and that's fine. I don't know if you can't laugh at a little.
We are the Midwest, but I think of us as the North.
The upper Midwest, right?
Like Northerners,
Yeah.
like we're all the Starks from Game of Thrones.
Well,
hardy winter people.
What did they called us? I was just listening to a podcast the other day because I finally got around to it. Brady, do you guys know who Brady Haran is from Hello Internet, the podcast?
No.
Brady Haran. They got into a thing where they basically called North Dakota the armpit of the Midwest. And I was like,
or like South Canada.
Yeah, but I thought, what, they might be kind of right. It's real high. It's up there. No one really, South Dakota has Mount Rushmore, and we've got a movie that's quote unquote about us, but actually takes place in Minnesota almost entirely.
Even you are embarrassed of it.
Yeah.
So it's not like I want to show off my armpit.
Yeah,
the United States doesn't want to show off North Dakota that much.
Well, geez, just look at our new tourism logo.
Oh boy,
I'll get Adam Weidman back on this show for that one.
Oh God, when I saw that, I thought, here's what this logo looks like, and I made within 2 seconds a version of it in papyrus font in Comic Sans with mismatched things, and so many people were doing similar. Wow, what a garbagey logo.
Yeah.
How did that get? What did they spent $10,000 on it?
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Well, in the end, I don't really. I guess I kind of don't care how much you paid for it as long as it doesn't suck shit.
Right.
And somewhere, I'm sorry,
Exactly.
whoever made that. I guess good on you. I know the check cleared, but
Right,
you'd think they would have
that's the
learned
thing.
from the license plate debacle.
We've both.
Thank you
Right,
so
right.
much.
I literally
Bill, you
went.
can come on the show anytime
I
you
literally
want.
went, and when I found out that they changed the license plate because they were like, "Yeah, we royally effed this thing up," I went and found out I paid money just to change my license plates. Just get rid of that horrible cowboy font.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's just garbage.
But yeah, we're not really known for making good design choices. Like
everyone in this room has worked in marketing on some level.
Yeah.
And so I think we could all probably agree, at least this is the way I see it. When I look at that logo, the new Be Legendary is what it is right now, is what they're calling it.
Yeah,
And
instead of just legendary, we added B to it.
And then it's really boring. It looks like something that was designed by committee. So it looks like something that feels like a million people weighed in on it, and then it eventually just became this mishmash of, because it has no true vision to it. It doesn't seem to evoke anything. It's non-memorable except for how crappy it is.
Yeah, I mean that's the internet, and then you add the internet to like design dorks, you know, and then also everyone's a designer now, right? Everyone with a camera's a photographer and a filter, but yeah, you get that in the immediate, you know, the internet's constant response is meh, you know. But that one, yeah,
that one deserves it.
That one totally sucked. I just love Weedman's one where he made it, and it's South Dakota, and it's just with an arrow that said, I'm with stupid, pointing north.
I've got a theory that what happened here was two people are out on a golf course, and they're like, you know, we're submitting for that North Dakota logo competition. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, I mean, it's yours if you want it. It pays $10,000. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And so then 6 months later, they're like, all right, tomorrow we're really looking forward to your presentation. And they go, oh, shit. And so then they're like, what are we going to do? Someone get online to Fiverr and see what we can handle.
Yeah.
And then they submit it, and it's the Emperor's New Clothes, right? We've been working on this for 6 months, the top brass in this state.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I can't imagine, though, you know, having, you know, my full-time job working in creative, you know, it's tough when you got committees and all those things involved. So somewhere at the other end of this, I do always want to know, what's the secret story that we don't know?
Right.
You know, some guy or gal who designed this, who just literally probably started with something great and just slowly had their soul crushed by a committee or by somebody on the golf course. Or my nephew's, my daughter's boyfriend's working on his degree, and he could whip some stuff up for you.
I have a cousin that does this.
Yeah,
he could do it.
easy.
He needs to get his name out there and get some more done.
And not
It
to
still
dwell
sucks,
on
though.
this, but like
Just still saying it sucks.
even the legendary campaign doesn't make sense to me, because when have you said, oh, the great legends of North Dakota? Like when I think of Minnesota, you got Paul Bunyan, a legendary figure.
Like folklore to it and cultural folklore to
But
it.
we don't have that in North Dakota.
Yeah, because we were a later state. You know, we came in well after the country had been founded and stuff like that, and it really was like there seems to have been no real good reason to separate the Dakota Territory into two states, because you put both states together and you're still smaller than most other state populations. But, what I was going to say about the logo, though, I think one reason why there was so much umbrage taken to the new logo is that they didn't use a North Dakota designer. They went out of state. And just the notion that you're trying to do something to bring in, tourism is about bringing in dollars and work to the state. It's about bringing in that. And so why wouldn't you then turn to the hundreds of amazing designers and marketing companies and stuff that are in North Dakota that could have easily done way better than that for the same budget?
Yeah.
But they went to, I think, Minnesota. I think it was a Minnesota company.
Well, I guess somebody I thought I saw somewhere that was Hawley.
Hawley, Minnesota?
Yeah, like not that far from here, but I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the backstory is.
Also, I mean, well, look at it. We spent how much money to hire Josh Transformers Dumel to come and be the spokesperson for our state, which I understand he's from here, but he was like, I can't wait to get the hell out of Dodge so that I can go make a Katherine Heigl movie.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when I look at the campaign that involves him, I get a little bummed out, because rather than showing why he, you know, what it's like to live and be in North Dakota, so, you know, things with he and his family, having like a fun dinner or putting him in a combine, they're putting him in these situations I don't associate with North Dakota. Like there's one where he's reeling in this giant fish that you can tell is photoshopped to no end. There's other ones where he's hiking this giant mountain. It's like, well, yeah, you know, in the Badlands we've got hiking, but it doesn't look like what you're portraying.
And we got to stop putting the Fargo Theater marquee in stuff. And not that I hate it. I love the marquee, but it gives the impression that that's the only thing here.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the only thing here, because it's front and center in everything. It's a marquee for a movie theater.
Yeah, North Dakota's weird like that, though. I just said North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Jeez. Jeez.
Well,
Yeah,
good boy.
we're weird like that, though. You know, we've got this big separation of east and west and, like, uber flat out here and, like, scenic and rolling buttes and hills out west. And then I'm not even going to talk about oil. But, you know, we're strange like that. And we have this kind of, like, this butting of heads even in our own state where we don't really get along that well, I don't think. You know, Fargo's kind of got this... We're like the Minnesota Democratic pimple.
Yep.
We're like the Austin, Texas of Texas.
Yeah.
They used to call it Imperial Cass for Cass County because they were like, well, Cass County is the most wealthy and it's the most populated county in North Dakota, and they think they're so great and they don't give a crap about anything else. And I mean, to some respect,
Bismarck, I hear, hates Fargo as culturally just because they're the capital and we're better than them.
I've always wondered what would happen if they didn't put the capital out there.
I'm surprised that they chose Bismarck.
Was that because it was more centrally located?
I have no idea.
I have to imagine it's got to be.
We clearly don't know a lot about our state history.
Right.
But boy, do we have some opinions about it.
Well, about what
I don't know shit, but I'll tell you what I think.
About what makes good design and good advertising for sure. So what do you think happens then, you know, in this scenario? You know, what exactly do you think is going on in the minds of those in power in North Dakota who had a part in that? If you see a public outcry, do you just dig in your heels and stick with it? Do you change your logo again? What do they do?
I don't know. I mean, like, when I talk about logo stuff like that, you know, people kind of forget, like, I don't remember how many years ago. It's all kind of a blur. The Gap tried to change their logo. And, man, people they tripped all over themselves to tell the Gap how much it sucked and how much they hated it, and they bailed on it.
Yeah,
I can't imagine how much money the Gap spent on getting that ready to roll out. I mean, they put it on the website, it was up in stores, in print, and all this stuff, and then they said nope. They just straight out noped it. You know, they pulled it back, and it's possible, but I don't know. I have this constant thing with, you know, I grew up here. I'm from Fargo. I lived in Moorhead briefly while I was in college. And other than that, I've always lived here because I really, you know, it's love-hate, but I mostly love it. But I constantly have this moment of, oh, God, come on, North Dakota. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know?
Because when you look at, like, South Dakota, right? So South Dakota's tourism is on point. Like, they're getting tons of people in there. And now, given... they ended up with things like Mount Rushmore, and
they can get a bunch of white guys built into the side of a mountain, but heaven forbid you get that crazy horse done.
Although I do have some respect that they're not accepting any money from any outside sources to get that done. Because I mean, Johnny Depp volunteered to fund it solely, and they're like, "No, we don't need your. I'm sorry, I played Tonto money." By the way, how did the Lone Ranger turn out, Johnny?
Army Hammer.
When is that guy gonna find something? Because it seems like he constantly just gets set up to be in things that don't work out.
That's why he's basically the Winklevoss twins,
right?
Which he plays in Facebook.
Oh, that was him, wasn't he?
And you know, like the man from
Winklevi.
Uncle.
Winklevi.
No, that's the plural.
Yeah,
that's the Winklevi twins.
Did either of you ever see The Man from Uncle? The movie version?
No.
I never did.
With
No.
Henry Cavill?
Yeah, it's super good.
Okay.
Like, surprisingly good.
Really?
And then he was in another one called The Shootout or something like that, but it takes place in real time, and it's about a bad arms dealing. And Brie Larson is in it, and is it Shardo Copley from District 9? He's in it. It's funny. It's got great action. You're going to be on the edge of your seat going like, oh my God, is this person going to live? It was really good. And I saw it in opening weekend. It was gone within 2 weeks. Nobody else saw it. And it hasn't even popped up on Netflix. And this is like 3 years ago, or HBO. It's really a shame.
You're saying it's going to end up
The
in
Shootout. That's what it's called.
The
Shootout.
Criterion Collection is what you're saying?
Yeah, it certainly will.
Instant classic.
It's the classic.
Gonna go like everyone hated 2001 when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, that's a lot of things. Maybe, you know what? Maybe the lesson here is that someday we'll look back and say, how foolish were we? This North Dakota Be Legendary logo is
amazing. It's what
amazing.
turns the state around.
Yeah.
Do you think that the folks at Criterion have enough power that they could just choose a movie and
Just
make
make
it
it
part
a
of their
classic.
collection, and then people will follow it like The Emperor's New Clothes and be like, have you seen Robert Altman's Popeye? It's a classic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what movie do you go to? Do you go to something like that, or do you pick something that has like, good college humor and quotability, like a Billy Madison?
Oh, I would love to see the Criterion Billy
Miss
Madison.
Slippy's car is green.
I want a Criterion Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1.
Oh.
That's what I want.
Never seen it. Wow, the room just went dead.
Can't believe I invited Bill on this podcast.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It just shocks me that like you were able to quote Billy Madison and an obscure quote to boot.
Yeah,
But you've never seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I haven't. I barely remember the cartoon. I remember it being really popular in that era when I was younger, but I was
What
too
year
busy.
were you born?
76.
Okay, so it was you were a little old for the zeitgeist.
Yeah, I was getting into girls.
Right,
or at least pretending they liked me.
You were
And,
moving off from boys and
I
going
was
to girls.
I was busy skating hard.
Here's a
Had my
side note.
skateboard out in North Fargo.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, the first one that came out, on the side of the console, they had all these animated turtles, but then they had a real woman who played April O'Neil in the yellow jumpsuit. Oh my God, I'd love to find that woman.
Yep.
Where is she now?
So I have tried to do some massive research, and I've been unable to find out who she was. It must have been a one-day modeling job that she
There's
took.
got to be some subreddit that can
my
get
God.
you to the bottom
She's
of that.
gorgeous. I'd love to see what she looks like today. I'd love to find out, because today those cabinets are being remade for places like Pixel Brewing down the
Really?
street. And so they've got one of these things, and I'm seeing it's reigniting my hormones all over again. And I'm thinking like,
Awakening
oh.
once dormant feelings.
If only it had been Cindy Crawford, right?
Is this the part where I tell everybody that both of you have been slowly disrobing through this whole podcast? Like I'm trying to decide if I should take off
Hasn't
my
been
sweatshirt.
that
You
Wow.
should. You should.
I'm
this is our-
like, is this what happens?
this
You
is
guys
our-
slowly
yeah,
get, we
This
just
is
get to
our
shirtless?
Third recording session of the day.
Yeah.
So now the heat that we've been generating is really beginning to build up in this room.
Yeah.
And that's why it's becoming a little intolerable.
Yeah.
Plus, just the raw sexuality that you exude is really
Yeah,
warming this
it's
place
totally,
up.
It's totally that, I'm sure.
Maybe you'll be able to identify with this, but so our podcast studio is part of a group of other artist studios here at Apt. And part of the problem is that there's one of these studios that has the
The
thermometer,
thermostat. Oh, boy.
in it, and that person won't show up for several days, and it'll be freezing in here, and then all of a sudden they'll show up. So like at one point today, whoever has it arrived, because it is ungodly hot to me
Yeah.
in right here, right now. But our other two are just fine.
I got a hot tip for you guys.
Oh, yeah?
You reach out to Dana or whoever here and is in charge, and you get a connected Wi-Fi thermostat, and that you let everyone have access to it, so that you don't have to enter their space, but yet you can turn it on or off at will.
so that means everyone in the room, in the building will just be battling for the
Yeah,
heat
Yeah.
temperature.
yeah. But still, then you could at least, you could mess with it a little bit. But isn't that everybody's thing? Someone's always cold, somebody's
Yeah.
always hot.
That's true.
It's the same,
Well, once we're rolling in that podcast money, we can afford. Once we're rolling in that MeUndies money,
Either that or
someday.
you're going to start hearing from an AC unit that we put in the window. And it'll kick in and be like, hey, the AC unit kicked in. It's time to give away a prize.
You can record some pretty okay audio in a car. I mean, your AC unit works in there.
Yeah, there's strangely much. Well, I guess it's because everything's located outside of the cabin.
Yeah, there's some
Do you know-
soundproofing going on.
You would be able to get through half of an episode of JJ Meets World recording it in a car before a squad car pulls up and says, we have some reports of some shifty individuals who are just sitting in a car.
You know how many times I've recorded voiceover stuff in a car?
I have done
A
plenty
lot?
of times.
A
Yeah.
lot, yeah. If you get a really nice, those like a heavy round bass, and you got the right steering wheel, you just set it in the little crook of the steering wheel, and it'll hold it there for you.
Right.
And then now your hand's free to hold your little piece of paper in front of your face. And
Yep.
not joking, it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's the cheapest sound booth you can get. Well,
Yep.
that's not true. You already have it.
That's
generally.
true. It did cost a lot of money to get it, but
Yeah,
it's a
it
sunk
wasn't- yeah.
cost. You have the car already.
Yeah, especially with my Lamborghini. So
When I
all
lived
that podcast money.
yeah.
When I lived
oh
in
yeah,
Chi-
Sharpie and I,
Yeah.
that Fargo Talks Fargo podcast money is
rolling in it.
amazing.
FX is just doling it out.
We've got tens of cents from our Amazon affiliate account.
Here's a great way to bridge part of this conversation. So, for years, I have been a pretty big cheerleader for North Dakota to get some filming tax credits. We're one of the only states that do not have tax credits for it, because I would love if they filmed the show Fargo in North Dakota,
Right.
rather than up in Manitoba. And I think we could be competitive with it. And a lot of people I talk to say, like, well, we're just giving away money then. I'm like, no. That money doesn't exist here already.
Right.
We're not giving anything away. If anything, we're creating industry where people are going to be eating in our restaurants, staying in our hotels, renting our
Right.
equipment. It gives an opportunity for people who want to start. Like, let's say you owned a bunch of trucks that previously were mobile showers in the oil field.
Right.
And now you can turn those trucks into lighting rigs.
Yeah.
And things like that. I think it would be huge, and North Dakota can be so many different things. I just watched The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, the Coen Brothers' new movie on Netflix. You could have filmed that in North Dakota easy.
Yeah. I wonder do you know where they filmed it?
No idea.
I mean, I would say though, if you got to choose between North Dakota and like Vancouver, where they film like a metric ton of shit, how do you beat that out? Everybody's nice. They're all sorry. And now they've legalized marijuana
Right.
everywhere. I just don't think we can. Can we beat that?
Well, I mean, not.
I mean, you can only see the wood chipper one time.
We tried with this last election.
Yeah,
it didn't work.
Maybe
so.
before like October 5th when they legalized,
Yeah.
we could have had something. Although we don't put mayonnaise on hamburgers here as like a
yes, we
natural.
do.
It's not a natural thing. A mayonnaise on a hamburger is either a request or it's buried under a list of maybe 10 other hamburgers.
You and I were just talking about how much we like Burger Time, and you have
Yeah.
to request no mayo because it comes on.
I wouldn't know that because I get my hamburgers plain. Because it's the only good way I know to not get mustard on my burger.
Unless you get a bacon cheeseburger, then it doesn't come with it automatically. But
Which is ironic because bacon and mayo have been best friends since the BLT was invented.
I wouldn't say best friends, complimentary, but not best friends.
Oh, they've been best friends.
You cannot.
There is a
say
bacon flavored
that you
mayonnaise.
hate mayo, and that it makes you vomit, and then lecture me on what mayo's best friends with.
I think I know all the better because I know to avoid the pitfalls of mayo.
There's a lot of finger pointing and gesturing happening. I want to just like comment.
Bill, how do you feel about goddamn mayonnaise?
Are you a mustard guy? Do you like mustard?
I've recently started adding a little mustard to my repertoire.
You should try brats with mustard and mayo.
Brats with mustard and mayo.
Amazing. Seriously,
I could give it a whirl.
give it a whirl.
I could probably do that.
Okay,
but,
get back to me
But
once you
generally
do it.
speaking, the one thing I don't pickles.
Yeah, I don't eat pickles.
Sorry to both. Bringing up the Weedmans again because I
that's
listen
fine.
to their podcast. And all their
They're
dance
sweet pickles.
and everything. But man, pickles are evil.
Yeah, they're gross.
They're
Thank you
terrible.
for,
They're the only thing that can touch another food and ruin that
Yeah.
other food just by touching it.
Agreed.
Outside
Bill.
of like maybe like an actual piece of
And
shit.
at this dude's wedding, our gifts were canned pickles.
Yeah.
What?
Jarred
I
pickles.
gave away 300 jars of pickles that I made in my home.
Well, there's some love in that. You got to at least.
No, there isn't.
You got to
I-
take. You
I
got to
had
take them home
customs-
before you
When
throw
I
them in
when
the
I invite
garbage.
JJ to
Stickers
my
made?
eventual wedding, I'm just going to be giving out mustard and mayo to everybody. That's what you're going to get. I made it myself.
We had a
Keep it in a hot car before get married in the summer.
The other day we had an all day rehearsal at Theater B, and they catered in Herbert's and Gerbert's sandwiches for us. And one of the requests during this thing was, "Hey, they've included a mustard and mayonnaise packet in everyone, and if you're not going to use it, let us, give it to the stage manager and she can collect them so that we've got condiments available." I threw my box away and I'm like, fuck it. These guys aren't going to get my mustard and mayonnaise.
It's
I'm
mine.
not going to help.
I'm going to do whatever the hell I want with it. You
But
guys can suck
we
it.
really need to lower the amount that we've stored in the Theater B fridge before we start stocking up with new ones.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that is some Depression era shit going on there. We don't need to do that. We have so many excess packets of whatever.
Do you have anything in your fridge, Bill, where you have multiple of the same thing just because you panicked and thought, oh, God, do I have ketchup right now?
I have multiple empty pizza boxes because when I'm done with it, I'm like, well, the garbage is full. I can't just leave it out here. The only place it'll fit is the fridge where the cats can't get to it.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they eventually become my storage for empty pizza boxes.
Yeah, I have had things like that happen. Like I could throw this away, but then I'd have to take the garbage out. So fuck no. But I do have times where when I open my refrigerator, I realize that it looks like Ed Norton's fridge in Fight Club. It's like empty. You know, my wife and I are both like, shit. Why isn't there any? It's just all condiments. You know, there's no food.
It's
There's
either
never any
that
leftovers.
or the fridge in what's the Tom Cruise movie where they can see crime, future crime.
Minority Report.
Minority Report. And he gets the new eyeballs, and then he goes to the fridge, and he's like, "There's a sandwich in the fridge. You can eat it." And instead, he grabs a rotten sandwich because that's all there's in there, and like some curdled milk next to the good milk. I've had my fridge be like that too before.
Yeah, who hasn't had a science experiment that got pushed to the back there, and one day you find it, and you're like, oh dang, what was that?
I got a couple experiments going on right now. I should probably tally up the data and get rid of them.
Is it's just dying in the pizza box?
Or it's gained new life. Is what it has.
I used to live with a kid who we had a little game. He ate at Subway all the time, and he would get a foot long and then bring 6 inches home to enjoy later.
Wow. That's
right? Yeah.
Sorry, that's the name of a completely different podcast. 6 inches to enjoy later.
We'd play a game where if I noticed it after like 3 times of opening the fridge and it hadn't been eaten yet, I'd say, what kind of sandwich is this? And if he hesitates and can't clearly say cold cut combo, I throw it in the garbage because it's been long enough that his brain has pushed it out of his short-term memory.
Oh, man. Roommates, right?
It's been a long time since I've had a roommate.
Do you refer to your wife as your roommate?
No, that seems I don't. Yeah,
not while we're recording.
No, she's my wife. I guess I don't know if I'd ever call her my roommate.
JJ's newly married and he's trying to figure out the boundaries.
Yeah. I don't really understand how it works.
You don't know how it works? Marriage?
Yeah.
The good news is it won't last long. You don't figure it out.
I'm 3 weeks married.
Oh, geez, you're fresh.
Yeah, but we've been together since 2006. So
you're a slow learner.
Yeah, very much so.
How long were you and your, at the time, not wife, your roommate, girlfriend, fiance, together before you got married?
I think it was just about a year and a half.
Okay, that seems like a respectable length. Though.
I think it was. We were together, and about the time we'd been together, a year. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I asked her.
That's a respectable amount of time.
I think so.
And then she waited 6 months to give you an answer, or
no? I was going to do it earlier, and my sister actually was like, "Yo, slow your roll, buddy. Just you date for a little bit, then get engaged. Be engaged for a little bit. There's phases in there for a reason. You're supposed to."
Versus JJ's 12 years.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Sorry, my sister and her boyfriend have been dating since she was a sophomore in high school. He was a junior, which equates to almost 18 years ago.
Yeah. In the end, I don't know. I look at it and I just think, who gives a shit?
Right.
It's almost in some cases, it's a distinction without a difference.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you want to be together, you're together. I don't know. Some people just don't need the piece of paper or like the little, the holy water, bless me, whatever, whatever flavor of higher being you're into's guidance. But I don't know. I know people who are unmarried but been with somebody for a really long time, and sometimes they're, in my mind, a more successful couple than some married people I know.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I guess, we make such a big hubbub about it, but in the end, I don't know. Every day you kind of get up and make a choice.
I talked to people who got married, say, like 40 years ago, and there's a change in our culture from what weddings were like 4 decades ago to what they are today. Case in point, my in-laws told me when they got married, they went to a church, and that cost them $20 to get married in their church. But the church, like widows, put together the flowers on the side, and you didn't spend a year picking out every little thing. And then they had the party at an armory where some people brought some crock pots full of meatballs. And so the wedding itself cost like $200 total versus the small fortune. Do you know how many like rainforests I could have purchased and burned to the ground and pissed on the ashes of?
Yeah.
Instead of just enjoying what amounted to be like 4 hours worth of time.
Yeah. Here we are, three guys in a room,
and not everything works.
But yeah, it is true. I don't know. I kind of look at it too. I mean, I've been married for 16 years, and I look at it and think, we've talked about it and said, yeah, would we do that again? We had a ton of fun is part of the thing, but at the other side, all the stuff that leads up to it and all the stress about it, just I don't know. Did it change anything? Probably not. And now I look at it and I feel like weddings are curated to be Instagrammable and
very much
and
so.
overly admired for what they are, yet the failure rate of marriage is still it's still like 50%, It's
The
like,
pageantry is what people latch onto for that day.
Right.
But it's not, and that gives us false assumption of what a marriage actually is.
I think it can, but then, I'll be 42 this week, and I've been at get the fuck off my lawn for like 10 years already. So I don't know if anyone should listen to anything I say in the end. I mean, my sister said that once. She's like, "You're gonna make a brilliant crabby guy." She's like, "You're in your 20s, you were already getting crabby." And so by the time I'm that old, I can't even imagine 60. It's gonna be awful.
Or awesome.
I don't know.
With wild abandon, just hating on the kids.
Oh God.
My wife and I share a very Mr. and Mrs. Wilson relationship.
Yeah.
Someone will come to the door and say, "Hello, we're selling toothbrushes because we want to buy a new bicycle." And my wife will be like, "Well, here's $40. I'll take 2 toothbrushes." And someone else will come to the door with me and be like, "Hello, sir, I'm collecting food for the food bank." And I'll be like, "It's 9:30. Slam.
I was going to say, we'd probably be like, "You want to get the door?" No. Did somebody coming over? No. Screw it.
Yeah.
It's just the doorbell will just ring and we'll just peek, go down the stairs and be like, "I don't know you."
We did
Who's
that.
deciding to not just text me? Who's decided to come over here and make
Right?
eyeball contact?
We did that last year, and it was ding dong, and our television is close to our front door, so it's clear you can hear us watching SVU.
And there are windows right there.
Right.
Oh.
And so then knock, nothing. Pound. And I was like, well, now it's just a matter of principle that I'm not going to answer the door.
Yeah.
And
Plus,
so the guy trudged through the snow to our front bay window and
What?
knock on it. It was Excel Energy, and there's a gas leak. And so they were like, "You're in danger!"
it would have been so much better if he would have been like, "I want my $2."
That was a twist. That was a twist. I didn't see
You're
coming.
in danger. Neither did I. And I was like,
Do you have time to talk about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ?
I'll just leave the pamphlet in your door. No, you won't.
If I don't convert 2 more people, they don't let me back in the van.
Oh God. I need somebody to help me clean my new white shirt. I only have 2 and I seem to have spilled. Could I come in?
What a great... I would invite that person into my house because I feel obliged to help my fellow man, and I feel so bad. So if you're ever going to rob me, if you could just come be like, "Sir, listen, I stopped to get some lemonade from some kids, and I was on my Segway, and I hit a small bump, and I seem to have spilled all over my shirt. I'm supposed to be at a bar mitzvah in an hour. Could you possibly help me?" I'd be like, "Come on in, no problem." And I'd insist that this gentleman take his shirt off in my home so that I could wash it for him,
Right.
Which is very Christ-like. And,
By hand with like woolite?
Oh,
Kind
without
of deal,
a doubt.
like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
gently
yeah.
in the sink kind of deal?
Yeah. And
Let me wash your feet.
then he'd rob me because it's a very elaborate ploy to get into my home to steal my things.
Yeah.
And then he would probably get help from me loading my TV. Be like, "I know it's kind of heavy, isn't it? Here, let me just give you a hand there."
Hey, don't hurt your back. Lift your bend at the knees.
I would love to go to like a Mormon community and walk around proselytizing for Odin and just going from door to door and being like, "Could we talk about our beloved Savior, Odin, the All-Father, his son
boy.
Thor, and Balder," and go down that road?
You know what would happen is they would invite you. You'd get to one house.
I get free food probably.
Yep, they'd invite you in. They'd have like Rice Krispie squares. But while you're talking to them, and they would be engaged with you, and they wouldn't be arguing with you.
No.
They would pick up a phone that every Mormon has and just leave it off the hook, which would signal all the other Mormons that someone else was trying to have a new religion. So by the time you left, all they've got to do is keep you there long enough for all the other community to arrive, and then you'd be surrounded, and they would just, kind of slowly but surely eat you.
So wait, there's like a Mormon bat phone?
Yeah,
basically?
yeah.
And apparently
Right?
Mormons
I
are
mean,
cannibals as well.
No, I'm
Pretty bigoted of you, JJ, to call Mormons cannibals.
Is that really bigoted,
You
or
just
is it
told
just?
me they were going to eat me.
Yeah, oh yeah. I don't think that I don't find that to be bigoted, though.
Brought to you by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Hey, you know
Take
what?
time to talk to your kids in the back of the car. You remember those commercials?
Yeah.
I was like, I actually thought some of those commercials from when I was young were actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh, that's cool.
People should take a tip from whatever marketing team handles the Church of Latter-day Saints, because I find not only some of their advertising to be very, like pulling me in a little bit and like, oh, that is kind of nice, but they made the brilliant move of they purchase a full page ad in every playbill for the Book of Mormon, whether it's on Broadway or a touring company. That's, you've seen the show, now try it out in real life.
Yeah, that is
No
pretty
way.
brilliant.
Which is
actually.
just genius.
The Catholic Church could use a little brilliance like that in their marketing because their PR is
boy.
real bad right now.
really bad.
Real bad right now.
It's super easy. Just let people get married.
Yeah.
Just seems pretty basic, but you know what do I
Condoms
know?
are okay. Condoms are okay.
Oh wow! I'm trying to figure out what the when you pull this podcast up, what are you going to tell people we're here to talk about? We've covered the podcast, the Cannibal Mormons.
What's in your fridge?
I didn't see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Those who are regular listeners, of which there are a couple, they're buckled in for the ride, so
Yeah.
they don't care.
They're ready for this shit show.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm talking me, not you guys. You guys are great.
Yeah. We're awesome. You're
Yeah.
awful. That's
local
absolutely true.
creative guy / podcast / shows up
See-
to talk to us about why you shouldn't answer your door.
And so you were talking about the stresses of competing in the podcast space for Fargo the TV show based podcast.
Yeah.
I feel similarly in that I'm really worried someone else will start a JJ Gordon centered podcast that I won't have any control over.
Oh, I already did a few weeks ago. You haven't got my email blast?
Yeah, be
Shit.
quiet, Bill.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
I thought,
Damn it.
wait, so what Patreon was I donating to? I've been going to just donate to my own podcast, so it looks like I have a lot of supporters.
Recently, someone told me that I gave to your Patreon. And I'm like, I'm looking at it. No, you didn't. There's an eerily similar patreon.com/JJ something or other.
Really?
And I thought, well, it's genius. It's like in the old days of the web when you'd buy a .org or .net of the
Sure.
same exact thing or something close enough. So channel 1 spelled out ONE instead
Yep.
of the number.
JJ Meets MEATS.
Right. Which is an idea of a branch off podcast we're
I
going
was
to
gonna
have
say.
where I explore meats.
Just so you can enjoy 6 inches later?
This episode is all tubular meats.
Yes.
So they had given to that Patreon, and I was like, oh well,
Ruh-roh.
that didn't go to me, and they're like, oh well, can you call them and get that money? And I'm like, I'm guessing not. I'm guessing
not.
they're not going to be cool with that.
Did you look at it and be like, it wasn't enough anyway? I don't
It was
care.
it was $2, but he said
Yeah.
that it was a monthly.
Oh,
so,
You better cancel that monthly.
better cancel that.
Yeah.
Hook you up.
Join us.
Or
Join
maybe,
us.
or maybe
This
they're
is about
enjoying
Mormons,
that
isn't
other.
it?
Yeah, it is.
Join us.
It is.
Bill, you
Yes.
got a beard.
Yeah.
What's the what?
Oh, yeah.
Why a beard?
I honestly tell people it started from just being, I think it was just laziness.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time I had jobs even when I was younger. I grew up in North Fargo. I worked at Hornbacher's, bagging groceries, doing all sorts of stuff there, and you weren't allowed to have a beard there. And so I think it was like the minute I was done there and I went to college, I was like, boom, no razor, no shaving, and I grew back then.
Do you remember what
Grew like a
years you worked
goatee.
at Hornbacher's?
Oh God, I feel like I started in '92.
And went till when?
So over the next, God, I don't know how many years I worked there on and off over 10 years, about 6 of those years.
At Northport?
Yeah, I had the pleasure of quitting more than once.
I must have worked with you then, because
Maybe.
I was a grocery bagger there for about 9 months.
Oh shit, I bet you were.
I'm kind of wondering if I remember you slightly from there. but
Yeah,
it would have been like 99, 98.
that was right towards the end, and then you probably weren't seeing me because
I was just bagging groceries.
I was going back to college for my 9,000th time finish my 6th senior year. I think at that time I was working in produce.
Okay.
And I would go and unload the truck. I would go in at 5 a.m., unload the truck, do that until 8:30, and then I'd hustle off to my
gross.
advertising and marketing class so that I could doze off during that.
Do you remember meeting Dean Hornbacher?
Oh, I met Dean like my second or third day, and I'm pretty sure I remember this. I was bagging behind a gal named Marnie Dybert, and I was talking to her, and this guy comes through the line, guy with this mustache, kind of bigger guy, and he's got a briefcase or something, and I bagged his groceries and I handed them to him, and I think I had a stick of gum in my mouth, and he said, hey, you should really get rid of that gum, and I was like, whatever, fucking old guy, I didn't say that. I'm sure my face said it, but then he walked away, and the manager comes up and he's like, what did he say to you? It's like, that old fuddy-duddy wants me to spit out my gum. And they're like, that's Dean Hornbacher, you shitbag. I'm like, oh, God. I was like, just like right in the garbage there, right by the drinking fountain by the bathroom immediately. But that was a hard lesson learned because I was like, what? I mean, I literally gave him some sort of face, just like, whatever, old guy. It's just a stick of gum.
When I worked at Take-Two Video, this guy came in and I watched him browse, and then he came up to the desk and he didn't rent anything and he didn't purchase anything, and he goes, excuse me, and looked at my name tag and said, JJ, the men's restroom could really use some attention. And I remember thinking like, oh, well, thanks for coming and taking a dump during my shift, asshole. And I was like, okay, I'll get to that. And so then he kind of went and wandered around a little bit more. And about 10 minutes later, he goes, I told you that the men's restroom could use some attention. I said, sir, listen, I'm really busy right now. And what I was doing was cataloging the new pornography that had arrived that I knew needed to go out at midnight.
Why are you using air quotes when you say cataloging to me?
Cataloging.
I can say these things because it's a podcast and
And
nobody
the word
knows if
new.
you're doing it.
Why new?
Yeah, new.
And then it turned out to be Marty Risky, the guy who owned Take-Two Video, who later on I found out did a brilliant thing as an owner. So he was really good at not micromanaging each of the
Right.
stores, but he would do these spot checks. And it's not like he'd come in and hide or try and,
Come
trick
in a
you.
trench coat, go into the porn section.
Yeah,
that kind of
exactly. But
Yeah.
what he would do
Yeah, right.
is he carried toothpicks in his pocket. And so he'd put like a toothpick on the shelf in between like Fantastic Four and whatever the next F title was. And then he'd come back 2 days later, and if the toothpick was still there, it's clear you were not dusting the shelves the way that you were supposed to be dusting.
Or you would have, yeah.
And so he'd bring it to the manager's attention, be like, well, this. And so then it became a thing of whenever Marty would come in the store.
Look for the toothpicks.
Yeah, you'd be like, you'd follow where he'd go, and then be like, oh, 6 of them this time, huh?
I'm onto your game.
Which really, by the time I finished watching where he was and writing everything down, I could have dusted.
Yeah.
And I look back on that being like, JJ, you really could have put in a little more effort.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I feel like, and now that I'm thinking about the old jobs, you guys could do like whole episodes on that.
On old
at
jobs?
least like old jobs. Like,
yeah.
like I know that when I get together with people who used to work at Hornbachers, we get into that telling stories in a round about, that one time, that old guy kept coming in and destroying the bathroom, because and like literally he was coming there because he didn't want to do it at home, kind of
Yep.
deal.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
or like the time that I finally busted whoever was eating the marshmallow cream in the bathroom, and I just knew I'd followed the guy there, and I was like, sir. And he's like, huh? And I'm like, I know you're in there. I know you took 2 donuts and you have a thing of marshmallow cream. He's like, no, I don't. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to wait right here until you're done because he's in the stall. And he's like, no, I'm pooping. I'm like, no, you're not. I can literally,
there's
I
some
can smell
marshmallow
the
cream when I came in here, so
Yeah, well, it kept happening when somebody would go in to clean the bathroom and there'd be like and he's in there in the shitter, literally eating it with like a couple donut balls, like his scoops, and then the other time we found it was just like 3 big swiped fingers through the thing. You won't believe the shit people would do at that store. I mean, did you ever catch any of this, Tucker, when you were there?
No, I did get bathroom duty a couple of times
Yeah.
when someone came in and just Picasso'd the whole thing.
Yeah.
Gave it just a real workover. And so, yeah, like you always knew that it was going to be a brown day when you were told you're on bathroom duty today, men's room.
Yeah.
Did you ever? A couple of my friends who've worked at Hornbachers have told me horror stories of having to chase out wild animals. Like, so when you're at the loading dock and like it seems like a whole flock of birds somehow gets in there.
Oh God, they get into the back and then they get way up into the rafters and stuff. But my favorite was always when they would let you secret shop, and before the days of cameras and stuff. So they would I had kind of longer hair back then, so I could just like pull on some like crappy t-shirt. No one would notice me just wandering around doing stuff, and so it was fun to bust people shoplifting. Like, sir, yeah, I I'm positive you have a steak in your pants right now. No, I don't. You sure about that? Just like raise your hands, and then all of a sudden, the steak falls out. Or, yeah, that was always fun. I don't know why.
Most of those sort of customer type stories I have from the Fargo Theater.
Oh yeah,
because being downtown, a lot of people would come in inebriated, and
sorry about that. I just wanted some popcorn.
Yeah, well, you were fine. You were one of the nicer ones, but and usually you could smell it on them as soon as they walked in.
Yeah.
And you would just have to say, "Sir, I'm sorry. Are you intoxicated right now?" Mm-hmm. And they try to say yes and can't, and I'm sorry, you have to leave. And sometimes you got to call the cops, or you got to go because there are kids talking during the movie and they won't shut up. And you got to go kick them out. Or I've worked Santa photo. I've worked Easter photo. I was the Paradiso clown for a summer every Sunday. Sassafras, the balloon animal making clown. I worked at the Downtown Community Partnership. I worked at Hornbacher's. A few other jobs. Videoland.
All I heard Tucker say is, I can't hold down a job.
Video action. Yeah. So I'm a real jack of all trades, I guess. When it comes to
I haven't worked that many places.
But that was
overall.
before I started really getting into career stuff, because then it was basically 4 years of poker TV, 2 years of Sundog, 4 more years of poker TV, and now my next adventures that come.
Yeah, I did like Hornbachers, played music for a living for a while. Hornbachers, more music. Worked at a bank for like 5 years.
Walked into a Cashwise and I was like, fuck this.
See, I've always wondered, like, when people don't have a bunch of jobs that they did when they were really young that were shitty jobs. Because to me, that means you decided to stay in that shitty job and keep doing it. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd do a job for a few months and be like, fuck this. And I'd go find a different shitty job to do.
Oh, man. Hornbachers was the cat's meow, man.
I was there for 9 months, so I stuck it out. But
I don't know. It was like everybody worked there. It was before working at the mall and fast food places was cool. So like a lot of my friends worked there, and there's a pretty good party culture. Yeah. Between the high school and the college kids.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. Right? Without a doubt.
You're like, what? Well, where else can you work and have access to alcohol from somebody? I literally bought my booze from a guy named Vinny. Like, what?
You're like, I'm going to go over to the liquor store at the end of the Northport Shopping Center here. And
it's exactly. It was so easy. It was
back of a truck.
It was so easy. We'd go down to the end, or we'd go over to the Happy Harry's, and you'd sit in the car, and Vinny'd get out there. Sorry, Vinny. I don't know if he listens to your podcast.
He does.
Actually, the funny part is Vinny wasn't his real name, though.
He asked us to bring you on. That's why.
Is this why I'm here? We gave some money once to a guy outside the Flame in downtown Fargo while it was still here. I don't know if you guys remember the Flame.
I don't remember the Flame.
It's basically where the the Taco Bros food truck is, and I gave this guy a Post-it note and some money, and I was like, "Here's a little for you if you go get this for us." And he went in, and we just stood there and stood there. And all of a sudden, I looked at my friend and I said, "Shit, that guy's not coming out." And I was like, "You can't call the cops for this."
Nope.
I was trying to get alcohol from kind of a vagranty-looking fella.
I'm underage, so
I'm underage, so I thought he would do it. I mean, I offered him like $10 extra. Why would? And then I gave him like $80, and he never came back. Oh shit! Yeah, just played that. I played that whole scenario.
Officer, I am on my way to a party right now, and they're really counting on me to provide this.
Yeah, it's over on Parr Street.
I mean, he was taking all the risk, too.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Oh, my God. I can't imagine what the description for this podcast is going to be.
Oh, it's
I have
going to
no
be so
idea
good.
yet.
Local creative / podcast guy comes in and we ramble.
It's going to be the new North Dakota logo, and it's just going to be called Nope.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We're doing our best here to be legendary.
Mm-hmm. We certainly are.
Yeah.
Part of the tourism thing that we're helping with at JJ Meets World is we're planning a live podcast experience.
Yeah.
Where people will be able to come and watch the podcast be taped live.
Sure.
And so, Bill, I'd like to preemptively invite you to that because this has just been delightful. My tummy even hurts a little bit from laughing. And we'll just, maybe we'll talk more about Hornbachers. Maybe we'll
I'm telling you, there's the missing podcast in this town. Formerly Hornbachers employees. Like, everybody's got a story. Or you could have multiple ones. You could have former Mexican Village employees.
I really
Take Two Video's got a great group of people.
I'm trying to find, you said Mexican Village, but the Paradiso guy, Chips Are Free Dinner Extra, I'm trying to get him on the show. I'm trying to track him down.
You'd have to call Dave Hansen and ask him.
Yeah.
He wrote all that.
That's the guy I want to get.
Yeah, whatever. I wonder
Chips
where
Are Free Dinner Extra.
Where's that guy at?
Because he was a prison guard, right?
That was what I always heard. That was the sort of local legend, so maybe that's true, maybe it isn't.
one of the Kroll's ladies was a substitute teacher because I've
Right.
talked to people who've said that she was a sub and they'd be like, do the line. And she's like, sit down and do your worksheet.
Yeah. There's been a couple, quite a few of the Kroll's ladies. Some of them are no longer with us.
Oh, that was just sad, isn't
Rest
it?
in Nefla soup.
And Shaky Mondays.
Yeah.
Oh, Shaky Mondays.
I know, right?
Are you
It
trying to
takes
get a
me back.
sponsorship on this
Oh
thing?
my God, yes.
Oh my God, we would sell out so quickly to whatever company.
Yes, we would.
Oh God.
Oh,
But-
that's the dream. My dream is to sell out. Some people's
That's your
dream
goal.
is not to, but that's my dream.
Yeah, you'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you already just said you'd literally wash a Cannibal Mormon's shirt for him if he needed it.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, if we're getting down to the brass tacks here, sounds desperate.
I mean, hopefully the Church of Latter-day Saints will sponsor us, and then they seem to splash that money around.
Yeah, you guys don't have any advertising on here, do you?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Just us begging for money on
Just-
patreon.com.
Hey, whatever you got.
/JJ Meets World.
Hey, Sharpie and I had we've had sponsorships that we like. Did we ever bill them for a sponsorship? No. Whatever. That's fine.
So you're saying that if someone purchased the rights to your podcast, they'd have some advanced previous billing that they could collect on.
Fargo Brewing has sponsored our podcast before, and so did
nice.
Tag at some point. But we, the last year or so,
Tag like the Trollwood alumni group? Because that's a big get.
no. Tag like the former T-shirt thing.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, sorry, Trollwood alumni group. Wow. No, it's the podcast is, it is what it is. I mean, it's the same with you guys. I'm sure we didn't really. It's nice to make a few bucks here and there for your time because you know how much time this takes, and for
We wouldn't do it if it wasn't
Sharpie and I,
fun.
coming full circle, for Sharpie and I, when we do that, we watch an episode, then we rewatch, and then we do 2 episodes per show. Every show that airs, we watch the show, and then the minute we're done, we record what we call the hot dish, which is just our quick take on what happened, like 10 to 20 minutes of just like rambling about like, holy shit, did you see that thing that happened? And then we come back like a day or so later where we've both rewatched the show like 2 more times, taken extensive notes, and done like all the nerd shit, like, oh, well, this is a reference of this Russian literary work and this Cossack choir, and this is why this music is, and total dork stuff. I don't recommend doing that for a lot of shows. It's a lot of work, and some people are like, I don't want to think that hard about the show.
Our method is just turn the mics on and start blabbing and put it out there.
I kind of need to start one of those podcasts or be on more like this.
They're so much fun, aren't
They
they?
are
Yeah.
fun. I mean, that's the
So-
thing too, is that we don't make money doing it, but we love doing it so much.
Yeah.
Like it's so much fun that I think no matter what, you have to have that aspect of it before you really go down the rabbit hole, because I mean, I think that shows through in the podcasts that I listen to too. They're all made by people who love doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's got to show through.
So you guys only do an episode of your show for an episode of Fargo?
Yeah. So like right now we go on a big hiatus. So we've been on a hiatus since the last episode of season 3 aired, and so now they're ramping up. Chris Rock's going to be on the next season. Can't remember where they're saying it's going to be based, but season 4 is probably in production right now because they tend to shoot through the winter, so it'll probably be coming this spring. I think so. Yeah. So every episode. So if there's 12 episodes, we'll generally record 24 episodes, 12 hot dishes, 12 like full show breakdowns, and then maybe we'll do an extra one in there. We did a couple seasons where it was, we'll visit with Maggie Phillips, the music supervisor, and that's just a one-off episode. We do that, but in the first season, if anyone ever wants to, I would also be like, maybe skip the first season. Sharpie would say that. We had a whole different format where we had different people on from town. Like one episode, John Lamb would come on, and then we'd have somebody from the High Plains Reader or Diane Miller, or all sorts of people would come on, and they would watch. Chris Kurzman came on. And it was super fun, but it's just like managing that many personalities, right? Like about a TV show, and then they'd have to be keeping up with it was just too much. So we just stuck to drinking beer, being half buzzed and or drunk sometimes, and then recording shows.
Have you had Kristen Rudroot on yet?
No, we thought about doing that, but that was one of our moments, of the whole. We did take a photo with her and put it up on our page. We ran into her at the Hodo one night, but we also had that moment of like, that's the Fargo marquee, or,
sure,
and we're like,
sure.
Really? If we do the Kristen Rudroot thing, although I'd still just love saying, "Hey, Dad, you gonna stay for supper?" Which is such a good, yeah. Hey, who you watching? Gophers. But yeah.
Side note, Kristen Rudder's also in Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
She plays, there's a commercial where she's a former Mount Rose like beauty queen winner, and now she's like, I just love St. Paul pork products. And then it shows her like
I need
on
to
the
watch
slaughter
that.
floor, like she's like made right here in St. Paul, Minnesota.
God, it's like the spam throwback for them, isn't it?
I remember being at Barnes and Noble, and my aunt Deb knows Kristen pretty well.
Yeah.
And so I saw her at Barnes and Noble when I was in high school, and I was with my friend Francisco. And I was like, Francisco, that's Kristen Rudrud. She was in the movie Fargo. She's the wife. He's like, oh my God. He goes, I want to go say hello to her. What other movies was she in? And I was like, Drop Dead Gorgeous. And I guess she was in. She's in Pleasantville too.
Yeah.
Now she's in Pleasantville for the blink of an eye playing bridge.
Right.
I don't even think she gets a credit at the end. And so Francisco goes over, asks her to sign his shoe, and then gushes for about 5 minutes about how great she was in Pleasantville. and then I remember afterwards being like, looking at Kristen's face, and it was kind of puzzled and weird. And I was like, dude,
boy.
she was in Pleasantville, but she wasn't like in Pleasantville.
Well, it just goes to show what Minnesota, North Dakota nice looks like.
Yep.
Really, it
Like,
does.
yeah, that's great. Yeah.
It does. So let's not have a long Minnesota goodbye
Yeah,
on this
no.
thing. Let's just let's cut off the arm. Just say, Bill, thank you for being on JJ Meets World. Tell people where they can find your podcast.
Oh, yeah. So you can just go to fargotalksfargo.com and find us, or just go on to iTunes where a lot of people get that. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google's podcast dealio. But
Spotify?
Yeah. I think I signed us up for that.
We are.
I'm really good at managing that.
And when is
My
the
puzzled face.
when is the next
Shit.
Fargo season?
I
roughly
don't
coming out?
think they've set the date for it, but
Okay.
it's gonna come out. My guess would be spring, but that's the fun thing about the podcast. You're talking about evergreen content. It really is. So
Right.
if you're watching the show, you wanna get some like inside takes on what's really kind of happening on a deeper level of Fargo. I'd go check it out and listen to us. That'd be great. And
Do you have some social
yeah.
medias that people, if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah,
they'll
you
let
can
know,
find
like,
us.
You're full of shit, man.
Oh, they totally can. Yeah, if they're looking for us on there, we're at Fargo Talks Fargo on Twitter, and same with Facebook.com/Fargo Talks Fargo is where you can find our slightly dormant social media accounts right now. Just because in the middle we don't do a ton.
You guys probably, your last one was you reshared Collider's Chris Rock announced for Fargo
did.
season 4.
It was.
Yeah.
That was it. That was probably exactly it.
Because I know that's the last thing I did in
Yeah.
regards to the television show Fargo.
Yeah. So no, you can check us out there, and then other than that, just find me at any local downtown bar.
You guys should do a Kickstarter
Yeah.
or a GoFundMe to go up there and go do an episode from the set.
Oh, I know. We've played with so many ideas. We visited with some of the tourism folks here about doing like a live, because they've live screened it at the Fargo
Yeah.
Theater. And we were one year going to do like a whole podcast episode after that live in front of the audience, but it just didn't manifest. So, but yeah, you can check us out there. Thanks so much for having me on the show, though. I really appreciate it.
Thanks
guys.
for coming, Bill.
Yeah.
And go watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from
Yeah, I'll get
1989.
on that. I'll do that. I'll see you guys at Hornbachers later.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode of JJ Meets World and would like to help us continue to produce 2 new episodes every week, you can donate to our Patreon. Check out patreon.com/JJ Meets World and donate today. Even as little as $1 a month can go a long way. Visit our website at www.jjmeetsworld.com or hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites the kids are using these days. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, go to linebenders.com, and you can find direct contact info for JJ. Before Bill left, I asked for a little bit of his beard hair. He said no.